Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all doing well. I'm just going to take that as a firm yes. Today we're going to talk about Australia and its very scary history. What's so scary about Australia's history? Well, first of all, this is terrifying and it came from somewhere in Australia, so there's a start. But no, we're going to talk about some other things that I personally didn't know about. I have asked AI to generate a list of different things from Australia's history, and we're just going to go through them one by one. How's that sound? I'm glad you're on board. The penal colonies. Penal. Between 1788 and 1868, the British transported more than 160,000 convicts from Great Britain and Ireland to Australia as punishment for their crimes. See, even they know there's something wrong with Australia. They're like, you're going straight there, where no one can find you, to sit with the spiders, to sit with the poisonous and venomous snakes, to sit with the mosquitoes bigger than Vin Diesel's forehead. You're not coming back, bruv. These convicts were sent to penal colonies, also known as convict settlements, where they were held and forced to labour to help build the colony. They're like ants. I see how this works. We've got Irish ants before GTA 6. The colonies were intended to serve both punitive and rehabilitative purposes. That's a big word for me, I'm sorry. Guys, come on, I only woke up 11 hours ago. The first penal colony was established in 1788 at Sydney, New South Wales, with about 850 convicts and their officers. The convicts arrived at Botany Bay in January 1788. They've just made that up. Botany Bay. The convicts faced harsh conditions, including physical punishment like the lash, solitary confinement, and hard labour. The Black War. You know what this is about? This ain't a Dora the Explorer moment, I just forgot what I was going to say. The Black War was a violent conflict that took place in Tasmania, then known as Van Diemen's Land. Van Diemen's? Between 1820 and 1832, it involved brutal clashes between British settlers and the Aboriginal Tasmanians, who had lived on the island for thousands of years before European colonisation. Brits, alright, can we stop? Can we just chill on our little island for once? Why are we always in the middle of this? Can't we just piss off and do something else, like eat a sausage roll or something? We just get fat, that's all we do. This tragic period on Australian history is marked by extreme violence, systematic displacement, and the near extermination of the Aboriginal population of Tasmania. Tasmanians, if you're watching, I'm so sorry. I did try to tell them not to do it, and they still did it. We should get them all t-shirts with a Tasmanian devil holding like flowers, and it says like make love not, I don't know, something like that. The Black War rose from tensions that began shortly after the arrival of British settlers in Tasmania in 1803. Bloody hell, wasn't even conceived yet. Yeah, I mean, most people I know weren't conceived that year either. As the settlers expanded their farms and livestock holdings, they encroached on the traditional lands of the Aboriginal Tasmanians, leading to competition for resources. Sick. No, sorry, not sick, because we almost wiped them out. The settlers also brought with them diseases to which the Aboriginal people had no immunity, causing widespread illness and death. The situation escalated when settlers began to retaliate against the Aboriginal people, who, in response to the loss of their lands and resources, started to attack farms, kill livestock, and in some cases, settlers themselves. Hey, they fought back. What does Aboriginal mean? Aboriginal. Aboriginal. Abe for Abraham. Abraham also includes the word ham, which is obtained through killing pigs. Killing pigs is a hunter's thing, and hunters are quite primitive. So therefore, the term Aboriginal must come from, yes, Skittles. By the 1820s, the violence had escalated into what became known as the Black War. The conflict was categorised by guerrilla warfare, with Aboriginal groups launching hit-and-run attacks against isolated farms and settlements. How do we know all this? Like, this happened in the 1800s. Do we have, like, proof? Was there actually, like, some Donnie from the future with a camera who's just like, yo? The British government, eager to protect its settlers and expand its colony, offered rewards for capturing or killing Aboriginal people. Of course we did. Rewards, yeah? What did we give them? Do it and you can get this bobblehead of Queen Elizabeth. One of the most notorious events was the Cape Grim Massacre in 1828, where a large number of Aboriginal people were killed by settlers. I really hate it when we kill people, you know. It's not the law. This was followed by the Black Line campaign in 1830, an organised effort by the government to capture or drive out the remaining Aboriginal population. I'm confused. The Black Line involved settlers forming a human chain across the island and marching forward in an attempt to coal the Aboriginal people into a confined area. It's basically Fortnite! Wow. Okay, sure. However, this operation was largely unsuccessful due to the Aboriginal people's deep knowledge of the land and their ability to evade capture. Yeah, they just limbo. We know how to limbo. Just goes under the arm. Oh, what do we do now? We didn't think this far ahead. Conflict is now seen as one of the earliest examples of genocide in Australian history, as it resulted in the near extermination of the Aboriginal population of Tasmania. But here you guys are. You're still alive. If anyone's watching this in Tasmania, big up you. You survive the 1830s. What you guys need to do now is just take a page out of China's book and just like overpopulate, and then the Tasmanians will come back stronger than ever. We're gonna fuck around now, and then you invade us. How cool would that be? No, actually don't. Wait for me to leave first. The cane toad invasion. What the frick? The cane toad invasion is one of Australia's most infamous ecological disasters. It began in 1935 when cane toads, scientific name Rhinella marina, I'm sure I've probably met an Italian somewhere that more or less has that name, were introduced to Australia from Hawaii in a misguided attempt to control agricultural pests. Unfortunately, instead of solving the problem, the cane toads became a much bigger one, wreaking havoc on Australia's native wildlife ecosystems and even pets. I swear to God, ain't they like super easy to duplicate as well? Don't they just like lay thousands of eggs? Bruh, how did you think it was gonna go? God damn, this is some Florida man level shit. In the early 20th century, Australia's sugarcane industry was struggling with an infestation of grey-backed cane beetles and French's beetles. Seeking a natural solution, agricultural scientists looked to the cane toad, a species native to Central and South America, which had been successfully used in other countries to control similar pests. I just imagine they walk into like this massive toad mansion, and there's like the king toad sat on his throne, and he's like, "Yes, proceed." "Excuse me, Mr. Toad, but we have a bit of a pest problem." In June 1935, around 102 cane toads were imported to Australia and released in sugarcane fields in northern Queensland. The hope that these toads would eat the beetles and protect the crops. However, the plan quickly went awry. What could possibly go wrong? They should have armed them as well with like machine guns and stuff. That would have been hilarious. Imagine 102 cane toads, right? They're already multiplying, plus they've got machine guns. Any country's worst nightmare, man. Cane toads did not primarily eat the cane beetles, which spend much of their life cycle in the tops of sugarcane plants. Out of the toad's reach. Instead, the toads ate nearly anything else they could catch, including insects, small mammals, and birds, but not enough of the pests they were meant to control. Small mammals? Brother, how big are these toads? Mamma mia, okay, carry on. Bro, that bitch is eating me! Cane toads are prolific breeders, with females laying up to 30,000 eggs twice a year. This allowed their population to explode in a very short time. Bro, there was over 30,000 of them. I thought spiders in the UK were terrifying. In their native habitat, cane toads have natural predators that keep their population in check. However, in Australia, they had few natural enemies due to the toxins they secrete, which are lethal to many native species. Look at that, you hit the fucked up button, didn't you? It's funny though, they're toads. You know what's funny about toads? Everything. The shape, the face, the noise, everything's funny about toads. I'm sorry. They produce a potent toxin called bufotoxin, which is stored in glands on their shoulders and back. When threatened, the toads secrete this toxin, which can kill predators that attempt to eat them. This has had devastating effects on native Australian wildlife, including snakes, lizards, birds, and even crocodiles, many of which have died after consuming cane toads. Yo, they killed the crocs. Why has no video game used a cane toad as a weapon? This just seems like a no-brainer. Next COD update is cane toads. The introduction of cane toads has led to widespread ecological disruption across northern Australia. The toads have spread rapidly and now cover much of Queensland. Like still, to this day. I'm so sorry guys, I've been taking the piss out of you and it looks like it's still an issue. Some species, like the northern quoll, have been pushed to the brink of extinction. Not the quoll! What's a quoll and is it related to a quilt? Northern quoll, it's a little mouse thing. Oh, bless him, no. Don't extinct my boys, he got a piercing in his ear. The invasion has also had economic consequences, particularly for the agriculture and tourism industries. Efforts to control the cane toad population have included physical removal, toad busting. When there's something grey in your neighbourhood. Traps, barriers, and research into biological controls like diseases or genetic modifications. Genetically modify a toad. To what extent? What if, instead of poison, it emanates pollen? However, none of these methods has been able to significantly reduce the overall population. That's a shame. Some Australian animals have begun to adapt to the presence of cane toads. For example, some snakes have evolved smaller heads, which make it harder for them to swallow a toad large enough to be lethal. How the hell does evolution work, man? I can't wrap my head around this. So somewhere along the way, something in the air goes, we need to develop them with smaller heads. Birds and other predators have learned to eat the non-toxic parts of toads. How do they learn that? The toads continue to spread, and while some animals have started to adapt, the full impact of the invasion is still being felt across the continent. We're jumping straight off the toads, because do I have another story for you? The Emu War. Can you guys just stop raising weapons at the different animals? Are you that bored and that peaceful that you're just like, who can we start beef with? The fucking emu. The Emu War is one of the most unusual episodes in Australian history, highlighting the clash between humans and nature in a bizarre and somewhat humorous way. It took place in Western Australia in late 1932 and involved the Australian military attempting to control the population of emus, large flightless birds native to the continent that were causing havoc for farmers. The result was a costly, embarrassing, and ultimately ineffective war against emus. Fuck's sake, Australia. Why don't you start a war with the big ass spiders you guys have? Why the emu? In the early 1930s, Australia was in the grip of the Great Depression. Many veterans of World War I had been given land in Western Australia as a part of a government initiative to boost agricultural production. These soldiers turned farmers struggled to grow wheat and other crops in the harsh conditions of the region, particularly as wheat prices plummeted due to the global economic crisis. How will we eat if we cannot sell the wheat? To make matters worse, a large number of emus... I'm sorry, okay? To make matters worse, a large number of emus, which normally migrated after breeding season, began moving into the farmlands of Western Australia in search of food and water. These emus were followed by their natural instincts, but their presence created a major problem for the farmers. The emus trampled crops and damaged fences, making it difficult for farmers to protect their livelihoods. Honey, the emus are... Just look outside, there's a motherfucking emu just ripping up your fence like, yeah! Faced with this emu invasion, the farmers turned to the government for help. In response, the Australian government decided to send in the military. In November 1932, Major GPW... What's that, like a wrestling brand or something? In November 1932, Major Gore Powerhouse Wrestling, Meredith of the Royal Australian Artillery, was deployed to the region with soldiers armed with 2 Lewis machine guns and 10,000 rounds of ammunition. The goal was to cull the emu population and protect the crops. Brother, you could sedate the fuckers. Put some fake crops out with just like some drug in it to knock them out. That conversation went amazing, didn't it? Meredith probably had like 3 choices and she was like, number 2, I was elected to lead, not to read. The campaign quickly turned into a farce. The emus proved to be surprisingly elusive and resilient opponents. Ha! Fuck you, Meredith. I can't be arsed. This is the funniest thing, man. The birds would scatter and run away at the sound of gunfire, making it difficult for the soldiers to hit their targets. Maybe you should try blow dart next time. On November 2nd, 1932, the first attempt to kill a large number of emus resulted in only a handful of casualties, despite hundreds of rounds being fired. The emus also displayed unexpected tactical savvy. They would move in smaller groups, making them harder to target, and their tough feathers and speed, emus can run up to 50 kilometers an hour, made them difficult to kill even when hit. They were running faster than the bullet. How sick is that? Several attempts were made to ambush the emus, including mounting one of the machine guns on a truck. However, this tactic failed miserably as the truck couldn't keep up with the birds and the rough terrain made aiming nearly impossible. Why do we not have a movie about this yet? This is incredible, man. After nearly a month of futile efforts, the military had killed only around 1,000 of the estimated 20,000 emus, as the operation was deemed a failure. You lot got outsmarted by emus. Bro, what are we... This is what you're paying your taxes towards. I'm just saying, right? Them lot went out to kill emus and came back empty-handed. The soldiers withdrew and the emus continued to roam the farmlands. Major Meredith later commented on the birds' surprising resilience and described the emus as formidable opponents. That's where the food chain begins, like emus, surely, right? The Emu War was widely ridiculed in the press and remains a humorous, albeit strange, chapter in Australian history. The failure of the military campaign highlighted the difficulties of trying to control nature with brute force, and the emus were ultimately left to roam the land. In the years that followed, the government and farmers had to find other ways to deal with the emu problem, including building more effective fences and offering bounties on emu scalps. So they didn't think of building a fence beforehand. So building a different fence was plan B. Plan A was mount a machine gun on a truck and try and blast the emus to space. Shut the fuck up. I can't do it. That's made my day. Honestly, we could just make a whole video just on that. That's incredible. What we got next? The Snowtown Murders. Ooh. The Snowtown Murders, also known as the Bodies in Barrels murders, are among the most infamous and gruesome serial killings in Australian history. Ooh. These crimes took place in South Australia during the 1990s and involved a series of brutal murders carried out by a group led by John Bunting. John Bunting got a mad ting, yeah? An individual with a deep-seated hatred for pedophiles, homosexuals, and those he deemed as weak. That's a big leap right there. Pedophiles, homosexuals. The murders were characterised by extreme cruelty, torture, and the eventual disposal of the victims' bodies in barrels filled with acid. Alright, so, cool. I mean, that's efficient. It's ironic. I was saying this the other day. Actually, no, I wasn't saying anything. Forget I said anything. John Bunting was the ringleader of the group and the mastermind behind the murders. He moved to South Australia in the early 1990s, where he befriended a group of individuals who shared his twisted worldview or were easily manipulated by him. Bunting's group included several key members. Robert Wagner, Bunting's close associate and a willing participant in the murders. James Vlasakis, a younger man who was gradually drawn into the group's activities and eventually became an accomplice. Mark Hayden, who helped in concealing the murders and disposing of the bodies. You know what, sometimes I just want to see like the background work of this, like how the human mind gets to this point. The group targeted individuals they considered undesirable, often choosing victims who were socially isolated, had intellectual disabilities, or were marginalised in some way. The murders began in 1992 and continued until 1999. I was thought about. I was alive. By George, I could have been one of them. I was only thousands of miles away. Over the course of these years, Bunting and his accomplices killed at least 11 people. You better keep opening up them barrels then if you're not sure. The victims were subjected to horrific torture before being murdered. Torture often involved the use of electric shocks, beatings, and other forms of sadistic abuse. Bunting also forced some of the victims to record confessions or make statements that could later be used to withdraw money from their bank accounts. After the victims were killed, their bodies were dismembered and placed in barrels filled with hydrochloric acid, which Bunting believed would dissolve the remains and make them easier to dispose of. These barrels were stored in a rented bank vault in the small town of Snowtown, approximately 145 kilometres north of Adelaide. The use of the bank vault as a storage site for the bodies is what ultimately gave the case its notorious name. Ooh. The murders came to light in May 1999 when police, acting on a tip-off, searched the bank vault in Snowtown and discovered the barrels containing the decomposed remains of 8 victims. To which John replied, "Total sauce. They got me, guys. I can't believe they found them." This discovery shocked the nation and led to the immediate arrest of Bunting, Wagner, Vlasakis, and Hayden. Further investigation revealed that 3 other victims had been buried in different locations. Wait, so it didn't solve the bodies? I gotta think of new ways now. They'll be fine for now, I'll figure it out later. The police also uncovered extensive evidence of the torture and killings, including items used to carry out the murders and recordings of the victims' coerced confessions. The trial of the Snowtown murderers was one of the longest and most complex in Australian legal history. Due to the sheer number of victims and the horrifying nature of the crimes, the trial attracted significant media attention. Genuinely, if he was putting the bodies in there for years, how long did he expect to just leave them in there? John Bunting was convicted of 11 murders and sentenced to life imprisonment with the possibility of parole. Robert Wagner was also convicted of 10 murders and received the same sentence as Bunting. Oh, going for the silver medal there, Robert. James that guy, who cooperated with the authorities and provided crucial evidence against Bunting and Wagner, was convicted of 4 murders and sentenced to life imprisonment with the possibility of parole after 26 years. Wow, bless him. Mark Hayden was convicted of assisting in the disposal of the bodies and received a 25-year sentence. Brother, they should all just be in there for life. The Snowtown murders had a profound impact on the Australian public, not only because of the brutality of the crimes, but also because of the apparent normalcy of the perpetrators. The case raised serious questions about the failure of social systems to detect and prevent such extreme behaviour, as well as the factors that can lead individuals to commit such atrocities. Atrocities? That's disgusting. Ugh, that's an atrocity. That's the thing though, you don't expect anyone to do it until they've done it. It's just wild. Like, how were you supposed to know beforehand? Failure of social systems. Are you dumb? Bro, I bet this was like the most normal Donny on the streets. They're just like, how did we not know? How did we not see it coming? Brother, I don't know. Maybe because you don't read minds, you pleb. In 2011, the Snowtown murders were dramatised in a film titled Snowtown, which brought the case to international attention. See, I have a problem with this. The emu thing, hilarious. Make a movie on it. Stuff like this, I hate it. It's like Dharma. When they made Dharma, hate it. I don't understand giving that person so much attention by making a movie, a dramatised movie about it. Do a documentary, sure. Tell people about it, absolutely. That's completely fine. I don't know if Snowtown now is a dramatised version of the story, but still, it's crap, man. Yeah. No, never been a massive fan of it, to be fair. Moving on, the mysteries of the outback. The Australian outback is a vast, remote and rugged area that covers much of the continent. Known for its harsh environment, unique wildlife and breathtaking landscapes, the outback is also a place shrouded in mystery and legend. Over the years, many strange and unexplained phenomena have been reported in the outback, contributing to its reputation as a land of secrets. I am sweating, bro. Here are some of the most intriguing mysteries of the Australian outback. The Min Min lights. One of the most famous and enduring mysteries of the outback is the phenomenon known as the Min Min lights. These these unexplained lights have been reported since the early 20th century, appearing as glowing orbs that float just above the ground. They have been seen by travellers, indigenous Australians, and even scientists, often in remote areas. The lights are usually described as white, blue, or yellow, and they seem to follow or approach observers, sometimes disappearing suddenly. Despite numerous theories ranging from mirages to bioluminescent organisms, there is no definitive explanation for the Min lights. Really? Have we thought of, what are they called? Glowworms? Is that one? Glow bugs, glow fuckers, what are they called? Guys, I don't know my bugs, okay? But yeah, that's interesting. It is, I'm sorry, I sound sarcastic. That's genuinely interesting. Wow! The disappearance of Lassiter's Reef. Lassiter's Reef is a legendary gold deposit believed to be hidden in the outback. In the late 19th century, a man named Harold Lassiter claimed to have discovered a massive gold reef in a remote part of central Australia. However, he was unable to relocate it after his initial discovery. Lassiter died during an expedition to find the reef in 1931, and despite numerous searches by others, the reef has never been found. Poor Lassiter. He found a reef and couldn't find it again, bless him. Raise the reef. Cool, he just sucks at hide and seek, that's all I'm hearing. The mystery of the Maree Man. The Maree Man is a giant geoglyph or ground carving located in the South Australian outback near the town of Maree. Discovered in 1998, the figure depicts an Aboriginal hunter holding a throwing stick, and it is one of the largest geoglyphs in the world, stretching over 4 kilometres in length. The creation of the Maree Man remains a mystery, as no one has claimed responsibility and there are no clear records of evidence of how it was made. Theories about its origin range from a modern-day art project to extraterrestrial activity. 4 kilometres, bruv. Banksy's even sitting there shaking his head. He's like, no, fuck that, bro. I don't know, maybe it was just a DLC drop, mate. That's how DLC works, man. The disappearance of Harold Holt. It's your boy, Double H. Although not technically in the outback, the disappearance of Australian Prime Minister Harold Holt in 1967 remains one of the country's greatest mysteries. Holt vanished while swimming at Cheviot Beach in Victoria, and despite extensive searches, his body was never found. While the official explanation is that he drowned, alternative theories include abduction by a Chinese submarine, a staged disappearance, or even a connection to UFOs. 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 Brother, have you seen those big-ass UFOs up in the sky? It's those damn UFOs. Holt's disappearance has fueled conspiracy theories for decades. Ooh. The mystery of the pajama girl. Yeah, we're moving on. If you want to know the mystery of the pajama girl, we'll do it in another video. Okay, I think we can probably get one more topic in here. The Beaumont children disappearance. Those little tykes always up to something. The disappearance of the Beaumont children is one of Australia's most haunting and enduring mysteries, a case that has gripped the nation for over half a century. On January 26, 1966, 3 siblings, Jane, Anna, and Grant Beaumont, vanished from Glenelg Beach, a popular seaside area in Adelaide, South Australia. On that fateful Australia Day, the Beaumont children left their home in Somerton Park, a suburb of Adelaide, around 10 a.m. They took a 5-minute bus ride to Glenelg Beach, where they had been several times before. Their mother, Nancy Beaumont, gave them some money for lunch and expected them to return home by 2 p.m. 2 p.m. I barely get out of the house by 2 p.m. When the children did not return by the expected time, their mother began to worry. By the time their father, Jim Beaumont, returned home from work in the early afternoon, there was still no sign of them. The parents began searching the area, but after finding no trace of their children, they reported them missing to the police that evening. Oh dear. The investigation into the disappearance of the Beaumont children was one of the largest in Australian history. Police and volunteers searched extensively around Glenelg Beach, nearby areas, and even across state lines, but no evidence or leads emerged. Despite numerous witness reports, including sightings of the children with a tall, thin, blonde man believed to be his mid-30s, the case went cold. Luckily, I'm in my mid-20s, so you can't blame that shit on me, okay? I mean, I'm not really blonde anymore. It's like a dirty blonde, but still, I'm not in my mid-30s, okay? I mean, on the contrary to what it may seem, I'm only 27. I'm not saying this was me. This was like 1960 something, right? I was probably Elvis Presley back then. I don't know. Witnesses recalled seeing the children playing with this man on the beach, and some claim to have seen them leaving the area with him. This man was never identified, and no conclusive evidence was ever found to support his involvement. Over the years, various theories have surfaced regarding the fate of the Beaumont children. Abduction by a stranger. I don't know why I read that as abduction by a tiger. The most widely accepted theory is that the children were abducted by a stranger, possibly the man seen with them on the beach. Given the era, it was less common for parents to be overly cautious about their children's safety, and the children might have trusted an adult who seemed friendly. Given the era, it's the 60s, my friend. Everybody was high. Suspicion of known criminals. What is wrong with me, man? All of a sudden, I can't read. Some theories involve the children being kidnapped by a cult for ritualistic purposes, though the theory lacks substantial evidence and is generally considered fringe. Everybody was high in the 60s. I don't care what you say. So children go missing, and the first thing they think of is, oh, they've joined that satanic cult down on fucking Wilbur's Street. Go back indoors, Janet. You're not safe out here either. Some believe that someone known to the Beaumont family, possibly even a neighbour or acquaintance, could have been involved. However, no suspect fitting this profile was ever identified. For all they know, they could literally not even be in the same country anymore. All he has to do is fly overseas and you're done. You're gone. You're not finding those kids ever again. How they got there without a passport, I don't know. Maybe a boat. It's probably easier, sure. The case also had a profound impact on the Beaumont family. Jim and Nancy Beaumont remained in the public eye for years, with their every move scrutinised by the media. They eventually separated, unable to cope with the loss and the constant attention. Both parents passed away without ever knowing what happened to their children. That's crazy. That would genuinely eat me alive. If my kid disappeared, I'm turning the world upside down to find my kid. I don't care where I'm going. I'm going down the Mariana Trench to find my kid if I know there's a possibility he could be down there. The case continues to capture public interest with occasional media reports about new leads, theories and potential breakthroughs. Despite advances in forensic science and investigative techniques, the mystery of the Beaumont children remains unsolved, a cold case that continues to haunt Australia. They genuinely could just be old adults by now. Mind you, they'd only be like 60 something now, wouldn't they? But where are the time travelers, man? Where are the time travelers that are like, I'm going to go and figure this one out? And then he just spins his little Omnitrix thing, goes back in time. He's like, phew, this was the dreaded day. It's like Doctor Who, innit? Just show up in a TARDIS and sort it out. It is a story of loss, but also of a society forever changed by the events of that hot summer day in 1966. It was the summer of 16... No, sorry, that was inopportune. I'm sorry. I know, I've taken this very lightheartedly. The whole situation, like everything I've read today, I've taken very lightheartedly for the enjoyment of you guys as well. This was never supposed to be like a serious video, and I'm not really a serious guy. For stuff that's happened all this time ago. Obviously, I wish there were no wars in the world. I wish there were no emus getting shot with machine guns before putting up the fences. And I obviously wish that no parent has to ever suffer losing their kid, like genuinely losing them. Not just their kid dying, but actually not knowing where their kid is. You know, that's... I don't know which one is worse. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. There's some really interesting topics on there. I used ChatGPT for this video to get like my topics and stuff. And it has not disappointed. It's actually done bits for me. So that's sick. Like, all of that was just fascinating. It was so good. I know diddly squat about Australia. Now I know too many things about Australia. And I'm going to haunt you with that emu situation for the rest of my life. You guys are never going to hear the end of that from me. Anytime I'm up against an Australian, I'm just going to be like, oh yeah, you can't beat me. You couldn't even beat the emu. Remember to like, subscribe, and definitely comment if you enjoyed this video. I would appreciate that very much. Definitely leave your suggestions below in the comments, what you want to see next and what different topics we can tackle next, what you want to see me do in future videos, whatever. Just whatever you want to comment down below. Tell me your recipe for a perfect tiramisu if you want in the comments. I don't care. Just go for it. Say what you want. It's a free country. It's a free platform. But no, I hope you all have a phenomenal day. Stay safe. Thank you very much for watching once again. And I will see you all in the next one. Take care.